Hi everyone, this is Jody. I just wanted to do a quick video to show you how to import your drapery and hardware models purchased from my store and get them set up into your space so that you can have your room all designed and laid out properly. I have a room already here that I've modeled. It's just kind of like a half a space so that you've got something to look at. But what we're going to do is go ahead and start with importing our files. So you're going to go to import and you're going to find your files that you want to bring in. These would have been the ones that you purchased from my store, and we're just going to set them up there. That's the drapery panels, and then we're going to get the hardware. Okay, so I've got them both in, and the first thing I want to do is get everything lined up to my window properly. So I'm going to start with the hardware here, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom into this. And what I want you to do is select, using your move tool, I want you to put your cursor over on one of the corners here and select, click once. And then I want you to constrain it to the axis that is appropriate for whatever your model is set up for. So I want mine to go along the green axis. So I'm going to hit my left arrow key. That's going to lock it on the green axis. And then I'm just going to move my mouse so that it bumps right up into this wall. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click on that corner and I'm going to move it up, and I'm going to lock it to the blue axis, which is the up arrow key. And I'm just going to bring it up to, moved out of my space here, just going to bring it up to an appropriate height here. We'll adjust everything specifically, and then I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to go to the left, or I'm sorry, to the right, and I'm going to constrain on the red axis here and just bring this in close to my window there. Okay, now I've got my window treatments, and I can move them as a group, or I can move them independently by double clicking and going into the group and selecting each of the individual window treatments. And I can do the same thing, constrain it to the axis that is appropriate. I kind of like the position of these though, so I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to move the whole group over to the right just a little bit, just so that it's kind of centered a little. And then I want to make sure that it is sitting in the appropriate space on the floor. It looks okay, but just to be sure, I'm going to grab the corner at the bottom here, this geometry right there. I'm going to click on it once, and I'm going to hit the arrow key up for constraining to the blue axis, and I'm going to set it right down onto my floor. And then I'm going to move it back again, up again, and I'm going to go up 1/2 inch. Type in 1/2 inch, enter. So now our treatment is, whoops, that didn't work. Let's try it again. Constrain it up, move it 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, enter. There we go. Now our treatment is 1/2 inch off the floor and centered fairly well on our wall. And now what we want to do is we want to move it back so that it is lined up with our rings here. So we know our rod is in the right position. I'm going to select my drapery rod, or my drapery panels again. I'm going to hit the move tool, and I'm going to select, see how it gets that little dot there and it kind of sticks to it? I want to select on that line, and I'm going to constrain it to the green axis, and I'm going to line it up to the bottom of this ring. Okay. Now what I need to do is I need to make this rod lower. So again, we're going to constrain it to the blue axis so it goes up and down. And I'm just going to zoom into it here, and I'm going to go right to where this looks like it's about touching. That looks pretty good. All right, now obviously things are not the right size. So what we're going to do is move some things over a bit. Here's your group of your hardware. Inside your group, you're going to double click to get into context. And inside each of these groups are, we've got rings that are independently grouped, and we've got a bracket, and we've got finials, and then we've got the rod. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my bracket and my finial together. I'm going to shift select so I grab both of them, and I'm going to move, and I'm going to click and right arrow key to constrain to the red axis and position this in about the place that I think is appropriate for my treatments. I'm going to do it like right there. Now I can move the bracket if I want by just selecting it on its own, and again moving it back and forth however I like. But I want to do the same. I like this positioning, and I'm going to do the same to this one over here. I'm going to select this one and this one, shift select to select them both, move tool, and then again constrain along my red axis, or whichever axis is appropriate for your window treatments. And then I'm going to put that right there. Now I'm going to select my rod. What I'm going to do is double click to get into my rod, and you can see now I'm selecting the actual geometry. What I want to do is select just this end piece right here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to drag a selection box from left to right. That will get that whole end piece, and we're going to move tool, hover over that line, click on it, left arrow key to constrain to the red axis, and we're just going to drag that piece over here to line up with that. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. Again, selection box from left to right. You can see that the end of my rod has turned blue. Move tool, constrain it to the left axis, to the red axis. There we go. Okay, and the last is to move our rings over. So I'm going to select the ring. I'm going to move tool, select it, and again constrain to your red axis, and just place it right where the pleat is there. And we're just going to move these all over so that they're in the right spot for the pleats. You can shift select to get all three of them at the same time to move them. Constrain it to the red axis, and then unselect and shift select those two. Move tool, constrain to the red axis. And last one I'm going to move over, constrain to the red axis. There we go. And we're just going to do the same with these rings as well. It looks like my drapery panel is just a little bit low on this side, so I'm going to click into my drapery panel group and just select this one side, and I'm just going to move tool, click on that edge right there, constrain to the blue axis. We're just going to lift it up a little bit. There we go. Now we do have a little issue here. Our drapery panels are bumping into our wall, so we're just going to select that whole group again, and we're just going to move it out the slightest bit. Now I'm going to constrain to my green axis so that I move it out just a little bit so that it's not interfering there. Oh, we do have some problems down here. Well, if you do run into an issue like this, so it could be that your baseboard molding is wider than normal. We'll just move this out. Oops. Just going to move this out just a little bit. And then if you feel like this is not correct, Let's move the whole thing forward. So you're going to select the whole group of rods. You're going to move it, constrain to green axis, and move it forward just a little bit. And then we're going to double click into this group. And then we're going to double click into our bracket. And we're going to, again, we're going to draw a box around it, but we're going to go from right to left. That makes sure that only the things that are inside our box get selected. Now you'll notice that this piece over here and this piece over here, they both turned blue because they're components, so whatever happens to this bracket is going to happen to that bracket. So we only have to move one. So I'm going to go back to my move tool with those lines selected, click on that corner and constrain it to my green axis again, and just go right until it bumps into that wall. Now my bracket hits the wall, my drapery are on the rings, and my drapery does not interfere with the wall baseboard molding. There you have it. If you have any questions, you can feel free to send me an email, and I hope you enjoy using your drapery and your hardware.